welcome back to another episode of Why I Love BNI, your podcast spotlighting different members and different businesses on what they love about their business and being a part of the BNI family. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Bobby with us today. Bobby, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, Bobby and I got connected a few weeks ago, and then we had a great one-to-one. I think last week it was, and I think we just had a total blast talking about our businesses and other things that we are both really interested in. So you have a really great story about what you do and how you help people. So I'd love for you to just kind of kick us off and just tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So the name of the company is First City Payments, and we are a brokerage for both merchant services and payroll services. So for instance,
Mhm.
my colleague up in Savannah sits in the merchant services seat, and I sit in the payroll seat in my chapter, which is the BNI Profit Builders in Jacksonville Beach.
Awesome. I would love for you to share a little bit about how you got into it because it's like kind of like it was kind of what like a chain. Like you started one place completely different and it kind of fell into what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to work for a company. I worked for them for about 10 years in the same space. And what I realized, or I thought I realized after a while, was that really there's so many options in the marketplace. It's really difficult for merchants to be able to really effectively compare and contrast all the different providers, all the different services they offer. And so we thought there would be a value to the marketplace where we could have just one person sort of lead the charge and be able to bring different providers to the table, different software platforms, and then really allow the business owner to be able to compare and contrast all the different aspects of those providers and ultimately find the provider that they wanted to switch to, if
Mhm.
you're interested in switching. And then of course, having a quarterback or having an advocate for the merchant through the transition process and customer service concerns, having just having somebody lead the charge. Again, we thought there'd be a value to the marketplace, and so far the reception has been fantastic.
That's great to hear, and it's super unique because I know a lot of different other merchant services, and usually they represent one. And if maybe their company isn't the best fit, they have good referral partners and they all work pretty closely together. But you guys are pretty unique because you have access to so many different types of platforms to really offer them that diversity when it comes to picking like which one does really, I know without a shadow of doubt fits for my business and is the most, economic.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's nice to be, maybe not a truly agnostic partner, right? We don't have relationships with every provider and every
Right.
platform, so we would certainly prefer they use one that we have a relationship with, but at least, we're not tied to one specific company, one specific platform, one specific provider. So, again, just being able to offer them the luxury of choice, being able to compare and contrast, and maybe one will work until your business gets to a certain size, and then we know there's going to be that critical control point where we need to take a look at another option, and we can really set that roadmap effectively for the merchant. And so they know what to look for, they know what struggles to be on the lookout for. And so once they start seeing those happen, then we can start getting into the process a little bit earlier, rather than it breaking and then them scrambling to get something new.
Yeah, and that's so great that you brought up, like what to start looking out for. So is there like one, small thing out of I'm sure the slew of things to keep an eye out that people can start looking, going, okay, I should keep an eye on this, or when I start shopping around, this is what I should know, like the basic tip.
Absolutely. So I'll keep it in the payroll conversation because
Okay.
that's my seat. And one of the areas of focus I have are like the what I would call the blue collar or service based or trades type businesses. And it's when they start putting new trucks on the road or they open up a new location or maybe they acquire another location. Every time the business grows just a little bit, there's additional resources that they may need. So, for instance, they may need a more robust time and attendance platform. They may
Mm,
need to track their labor a little bit more, or put in like a job costing element to their payroll. So, just some of those ancillary services, and it's really growth that triggers a lot of those. Again,
yeah.
adding new employees, adding new trucks, adding new locations. Those are the sorts of things that I look out for personally.
Oh, that's great, especially because so many people I know are looking to grow, and with growing, you get all those growing pains of like, wait, I don't even know what I'm supposed to keep track of anymore. There's too
Absolutely.
many
In this
people
area of
now.
Florida, we're in a growth phase right now. So not the amount of new construction going on, the opportunity is um, very robust, I would say, for all
Right.
the area service providers.
I like the word robust. I think it's a great, what's it called, representation of what's going on here in the state of Florida. But switching gears just a little bit, I'd love for you to share a little bit about, who's the first person that invited you to BNI? How'd you find out about it?
Absolutely. And it was actually my boss, and it was quite a long time ago, maybe about 10 years ago.
Wow.
So the boss who hired me got me into the BNI fold, and it was my first experience with BNI was a very small chapter, so maybe 9 to 11 members at the time, and that chapter is actually no longer there. So I was aware of the BNI uh, mindset, the BNI process, I suppose. And then the seat came open at the Profit Builders chapter about 5 years ago. And of
Mhm.
course, I'm sure many of your listeners are aware it's one of the largest chapters or the largest chapters in the region. And so when that opportunity came available, it was too good to pass up. So I invited myself and kind of got into the fold.
I like how you invited yourself. I also invited myself when it came to my BNI. I found out there's a BNI in town, and I didn't really know that much about BNI, but my dad was like, "Yeah, I was in BNI like 10 years ago in Michigan." He's like, "You should just go and check it out." And I was trying to look through the roster, like, "Do I know anyone?" And I called someone. I was like, "Hey, I want to come visit. Like, can you tell me what I should do before I come visit?" And she was like, "Okay." So I counted as her visitor, but it was I was the one doing all the research. So.
Yeah, and when you're a lay person sort of coming into BNI for the first time, it is a much different process, certainly than I was expecting.
Sure.
It was a very different type of mindset than I had before.
Oh my gosh. And I know I had like so many like nightmare scenarios where like different things would happen, especially like when you're a visitor, and you're like, do you speak or not? When do you speak? What do you say? There's so many people. There was only like 60, I only say only because we've grown 25 plus members
Sure,
since,
yeah.
but we had like 60 something members, and it's like terrifying
Yeah, it's a
for a
lot of people
moment.
to be exposed to in a business context early in the morning. It's a very big
I know.
yeah.
I just
Or
had
what I say is like our chapter is it's an overwhelming amount of energy on a Thursday morning.
That's what a lot of people said. Some of the members in your chapter were like, Macy, you should come up one morning. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I'm like, yeah, but it's also it's really early for me, and I don't live anywhere near Jacksonville, so it's like I have to get up even earlier to drive. And he goes, yeah, but you should really come. We'll wake you up, but then you'll be exhausted after the meeting. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
right
He's
on.
like,
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
we're gonna take all the energy, and you're just gonna be like so overwhelmed that by the end of it, you're gonna like want to pass out. I'm like, okay, that's it's a very interesting invite. I don't think I've gotten one of those in a while.
Absolutely.
um, but you've been in BNI, you said about 5 years, and you've been exposed to it for about 10 plus years. So do you have any like
Mhm.
BNI favorite BNI success stories where either a few your members came together or
Mhm.
some how they've helped your business?
Absolutely. And for me, it's a very obvious one just because I changed my jobs, my profession last October. So
Oh
really
wow.
in BNI, you're in this context of business owners who are all working to help you and help your business. And so the amount of inspiration that I got from all the other fellow business owners within BNI gave me the confidence that, I could go out on my own and make this work. So it's a very again, positive amount of energy. Just again, I have 100 people who are working every single week to try to make my business succeed. And it's a
Yeah.
very, great place to be.
Yeah, and I know your guys' chapter, you guys are crazy advocates for each other, and I love it so
Mhm.
much. I've loved hearing all the stories. Do you have any favorite like tip or trick that you've learned since joining BNI that you'd love to educate some of us on?
Absolutely. I guess pound for pound, or I should say minute for minute, the most valuable part of your BNI membership are the roundtables and
Mm,
speed networking around the region. Because of course you spend so much time getting to know the members in your chapter and having the one-to-ones and going through the process, but then being able to, almost exponentially increase your visibility across the region to somebody from another chapter, whose chapter has different needs or different members in it. So I think, again, just the roundtables, the speed networking, those other networking opportunities offered through your BNI membership should not be overlooked and can really help speed along your process or progress in BNI.
Definitely, and that's how I started getting connected to some of you guys in Jacksonville as I went to one of the in-person roundtables
Hmm.
as well as the online roundtable. So there's things for everyone. If you're like, oh, I don't want to drive all the way to St. Augustine or Jacksonville, well, they have online ones and they have international ones, national ones, and then of course regional ones. So you can always get connected to someone in the world with BNI.
Absolutely. And your presentation can get kind of stale within your own chapter, right? You always have to think about switching up. But then at a roundtable or speed networking, for instance, the other people are hearing it for the very first time. So it's a really great way to freshen up your message, and get it in front of new eyes and new ears.
Definitely. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and you have a lot of great tips and tricks when it comes to everything, BNI and professional. So I appreciate you taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great opportunity.
Of course. And to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.